I seriously hate politics. I really do. So, hilarious display of bullshit happened between our beloved politicians here in America. Republicans attempt to try and repeal Obamacare. Big surprise. But honestly, this was pretty crazy. Like, this just happened a few days ago, and I'm still baffled by how the Republican Party went about this. In trying to repeal Obamacare, they came up with a 146-page long healthcare plan, which I'll link in the description below in case some of you want to read it for yourselves, but it's just filled with bullshit. The entire thing is just stupid. Vox made a video discussing the health bill, and they do a better job at explaining the bill than I would.
It makes healthcare more expensive for poor people. The first thing the bill does, the biggest thing it does, the main way it changes American healthcare is it guts Medicaid. So beginning in 2021, Obamacare's Medicaid expansion begins to phase out. That Medicaid expansion was responsible for 11 of the roughly 20 million people who got covered with insurance under Obamacare. From 2021 to 2024, that expansion phases out entirely.
This bill, the Better Care Reconciliation Act, would make it to where your insurance couldn't cover certain treatments and care that you would need.
Those couple of words, that is a huge tax cut. It is a capital gains tax cut. Capital gains is investment income. And in Obamacare, investment income on rich people got taxed a little bit more to pay for health insurance for poor people. That Obamacare tax increase is repealed. And in order to fund the repeal of it, the Republican Party needs to gut Medicaid. They need to find some way to pay for this huge tax cut to rich people. How big of a tax cut to rich people is this? A similar version of it in the House bill got looked at by the Center on Budget and Policy parties. The 400 richest families in America would get a $33 billion tax cut. That is about as much as it would cost to keep the Medicaid expansion going in 4 states that are covering 700,000 people.
I mean, right now with Obamacare, people are still currently complaining that their insurance doesn't cover all their costs, and they're still left with a huge portion to pay out of pocket. Yeah, you think you're having troubles paying that shit now? Well, with the Republican healthcare plan, that's 70% of costs covered by Obamacare will drop to a whopping 58%.
On page 5, they change what the bill defines as, quote, an applicable median cost benchmark plan. That is obviously a beautiful turn of phrase, but what it means is that when you get subsidies under Obamacare, it is not just tied to how much money you make, it's tied to how much a good plan costs in your area. And the way the law defines a good plan is a plan that is about 70% of your expected healthcare costs. The Republican bill changes that benchmark plan. It brings it down to 58%. That is lower than the lowest plan most people can buy under Obamacare right now.
Unbelievable. Like, look, for me personally, I'm not going to pretend like I love Obamacare or anything. I'm more of an advocate for universal health care, or at least try it out because that would be better than nothing. But not according to the Republican senators.
The Senate's Plan B for Trump care seems dead, and Plan C had barely been introduced before it was slain as well. GOP senators balking at Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's proposal to ditch a replacement for Obamacare and instead just going to outright repeal without a replacement. At least 3 Republican senators say they will not support that option.
Yeah, let's completely just take out Obamacare and replace it with nothing. Well, we'll just worry about that later, guys. We just need to get it out of here. I mean, whatever, at least universal healthcare would be a fucking option. Hell, at least try it. I mean, you don't have to agree with me on universal healthcare, but at least that's bringing something to the table.
What is being talked about here is like having a hole in the roof of your house. Instead of patching it, they want to burn down the house. So what we are not willing to participate in is burning down the house.
Senator Bernie Sanders spoke out against the bill, and he makes a lot of good points that I wanted to show.
We now have 28 million Americans who have no health insurance, and even more who have high deductibles and high co-payments, preventing them from getting to a doctor when they should. So we've got a bad situation now. It's better today than before the Affordable Care Act was passed, when we had over 50 million people without insurance, but no one suggests that what we have today is where we should be. And yet, with 28 million people uninsured, the Republican solution to this problem is to throw another 22 million people off of the health insurance that they currently have. And I want the American people to, for one moment, put themselves in the place of somebody tonight who may be watching what we're talking about here, who has cancer, who has a heart disease, who has diabetes, or some other life-threatening illness. Millions of people are in that position. They are struggling for their lives right now. They're under treatment. And they are thinking, what happens if this Republican bill is passed? Will I live and continue to get the treatment that I need, or will I die? This legislation would cut Medicaid by almost $800 billion over a 10-year period, taking health care away from lower-income and working-class families, including many children with special needs, kids with Down syndrome, kids who have serious emotional problems, kids whose lives now depend on Medicaid. When you cut Medicaid by $800 billion, many of those children will lose coverage entirely or receive significantly fewer benefits. You can go forward with legislation that has had 0 public hearings, that is opposed overwhelmingly by the American people. Last poll that I saw from USA Today had 12% support for this legislation.
It just makes me laugh that 87% of Americans have openly expressed we have problems with this plan, we don't like this plan, we don't want this plan. And yet still, the Republican House still pushed for this. Well, now I wonder why that is. Is it because this plan benefits richer people more than the average everyday American? Maybe that's why Donald Trump was pushing for it so hard, because he'd benefit from it, of course. I guess that's why he made threats to the senator of Alaska for not voting on it. But we'll get to that later. Also, funny enough, 13 Republican senators expressed concerns about the bill, and the first one that was completely against it was Senator Susan Collins. Lisa Murkowski, the senator of Alaska, soon followed suit, as well as John McCain and a few others.
I voted for the motion to proceed to allow debate to continue and amendments to be offered. I will not vote for this bill as it is today. It's a shell of a bill right now. We all know that. I have changes urged by my state's governor that will have to be included to earn my support for final passage of any bill. I know many of you will have to see the bill change substantially for you to support it. We've tried to do this by coming up with a proposal behind closed doors in consultation with the administration, then springing it on skeptical members, trying to convince them that it's better than nothing. That it's better than nothing? Asking us to swallow our doubts and force it past a unified opposition. I don't think that's going to work in the end, and probably shouldn't.
I mean, that's a good sign to tell you something's wrong when so many people, including people on your own team, are willing to come forward and openly tell you this is wrong and I am not supporting this. That should be a decent wake-up call. Now, I'm going to play a few clips of Senator John Cornyn and Senator Chuck Schumer's debate on the issue, and put honestly, at least for me, John Cornyn's responses to what the Democrats propose is so fucking telling. Like, it just reeks of bullshit. Let's just watch.
None of these senators have read the bill. I have the floor, Mr. President. The bill's 142 pages long, compared to the 2,700-page long Obamacare bill. They can read the bill. If they have objections to the provisions, we can debate them, but what they're talking about is a bill that does not exist, which they have not read. I object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Minority Leader.
Would my dear colleague from Texas yield to a question?
Senator from Texas does not have the floor. You have the floor.
I would like to just then tell my friend from Texas, this is the bill. It was posted online a half hour before we came online. and I'd ask a page to come over and bring it to my dear friend and ask him if this is the bill, which we have read.
Mr. President, all senators have a copy of this discussion draft bill. It is a discussion draft which will be open to an amendment process with unlimited amendments that could be offered by both sides following before which we'll have a fulsome debate. Our colleagues here are complaining about secrecy that doesn't exist. This bill's online. The American people can read it. You can read it. And I would suggest that they do read it before they start criticizing it.
Ask my friend from Texas to yield for another question.
I will.
Will we get more than 2 minutes to debate each amendment we ask for? Or will we be under reconciliation process where we have simply 10 hours of debate and then every amendment only gets 2 minutes? And does he consider that, 2 minutes, if that's the case, a full and fair debate on each amendment?
Mr. President, I would say in response to my friend from New York, the fact that we are having to conduct this under the reconciliation rules is a result of their refusal to participate in the process, thus necessitating Republicans doing this under budget reconciliation rules. If they would do this in a true bipartisan way, where we could get 60 votes to get on the bill and open it to amendment process, we could have a better bill. But given the refusal of our Democratic colleagues to participate in the process, this is the only way we can come to the rescue of the people who are being hurt by the meltdown of Obamacare today.
I have read this bill. This bill doesn't make sense in my brain nor yours. And look, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything regarding politics. I didn't take any political studies in college. I'm no expert. But even a common person, a common American citizen, can look at this and smell bullshit. But let's continue, because the Senator of Washington, Patty Murray, makes a few good points as well. By the way, keep in mind that I'm not really biased towards one party here, Democrats or Republicans. I don't side with either of them based on that status alone. But no matter what position you take, you can clearly see that even the Republican House doesn't know how they want to approach this.
Mr. President,
Senator from Washington.
Mr. President, I heard the objection. I just have to say, what the exchange we just heard is exactly what we've been objecting to. We were told that the bill would be online at 9:30 this morning. It was online at 11 o'clock. I have a copy of it. But we're hearing from the other side now that this isn't the bill. This is a discussion draft. We aren't going to see the bill. We won't see the real bill, apparently, until next week, even though we were told we'd see it this morning. This has been the problem we've had since this discussion started. We started in January with the process that cut us out of this under reconciliation. 13 men in a private room wrote this, quote, discussion draft that's not a bill that we're supposed to now look at and decide whether or not we like it in the American public. A discussion draft, a bill, even the other side doesn't know what we have. That's what we're objecting to. We're asking that the American people, who have a right to know what is going to impact every one of their lives, every one of their families, every one of their communities, every one of their businesses, have more than a discussion draft, more than 10 hours of debate, time to look at it and know how we're even going to do an amendment process next week. This is deplorable.
Yield for a question.
I totally agree with her statements here. Like, the scenario that I've been using to describe this thing is, imagine you have a box, and inside that box is a random assortment of knickknacks and junk, and some of these knickknacks are fragile and have been in the box for years. Now, this box isn't that good. It's holding itself together, but we need to transfer the knickknacks to a better box so it can properly hold this stuff. Now, how the Republican House basically wanted to handle it was to take the box, dump out all the stuff on the floor, throw away the box, and then go, all right, now, let's find a new box. Like, what? Like, to me, that's what's going on, and it's stupid. How you're handling this is stupid. What you're advocating for is stupid. The majority of the American people find it stupid. Need I say more?
Majority
Would I yield for a question?
Happy to.
Mr. President, I'd ask the senator from Washington if she's aware of the fact that under the budget reconciliation process, there will be an unlimited number of amendments that could be offered by either side to the bill that's ultimately filed.
Oh, Mr. President, I am well aware of that, and I will remind our colleagues and everybody in this country what will happen is that there will be 10 hours of debate where we hopefully have more than a discussion draft that we will be allowed to offer amendments on, and there will be no debate on those amendments. No one will know what it is. It'll be a chaotic process on this floor. The American public won't know. We'll be able to tell them days later after this gets undone. That's not an amendment process. That is not what we went through when we passed the Affordable Care Act. The American public deserves better.
Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
I'd ask my colleague a question. What would be wrong with 1 hour of debate on every amendment to this bill? What is the objection to that, since the majority is proposing no debate on amendments and then saying it's an open process? What is wrong with 1 hour of debate on every amendment offered to this bill?
Mr. President.
Majority Whip.
Mr. President, I'd say in response to my friend, the minority leader, that it is as a result of their refusal to participate in the usual process of passing legislation through the regular order.
Senator will be in order.
That we have to resort to the budget reconciliation process. It has a set of statutory provisions and rules. There will be a fulsome debate. There's already been a debate on a bill that you haven't read. And I suggest you take the time to read it, and then we can talk about the details. But this bill, 142 pages compared to 2,700 pages in Obamacare, it doesn't take that long to read. This is a start. This is not the finish. And this is called the normal legislative process. And I suggest colleagues, rather than criticize a bill that they haven't read, they read it, and then let's have a credible debate.
How the fuck are they, as well as we the people, supposed to read and debate on a bill that you yourself just admitted isn't the finished bill that you're proposing?
This is a start. This is not the finish.
So, what is the fucking bill you're proposing? Like, this bill that's 146 pages long is just the start, so where's the rest? Like, I didn't know healthcare was supposed to be a play-it-by-ear type of discussion, because there was a reason that Obamacare was over 2,000 pages long, because it at least laid out some sort of plan. You're proposing we just dump Obamacare wholeheartedly, and then we'll just fill in the gaps from there. With what, we don't know, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. That is what you're proposing, and it's completely preposterous. I'll leave the link to the rest of that debate as well as the rest of the videos used in the description below, because I'm not going to cover that entire 23-minute exchange. Now, before making their votes on the matter, protesters broke out in chants as they yell, "Kill the bill, don't kill us."
Motion to proceed to calendar number 120, H.R. 1628. An act to provide for reconciliation pursuant to Title II of the concurrent resolution on the budget for fiscal year 2017.
Ask for the ayes and nays. Ask for the ayes and nays. Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the chamber. Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the chamber, please.
Oh God, what a mess. But wouldn't you know it, it didn't go through. Turns out you need a replacement if you're going to replace something. Especially when that said something is important. This article from the Chicago Tribune on July 25th states, "The Senate embarked on freewheeling process to rewrite the Affordable Care Act on Tuesday, as Republicans overcame deep decisions to bring their proposals up for debate by the narrowest possible margin. But those same schisms threaten to leave the party far short in the coming days of its ambitious goal to undo major parts of the ACA, which the GOP has been vowing for 7 years to dismantle. On Tuesday night, just hours after opening debate, Senate Republican leaders failed to pass a bill that they spent weeks crafting but never gained sufficient traction with the rank and file. 57 senators opposed the measure known as the Better Care Reconciliation Act, BCRA, while 43 supported it, portending a difficult road ahead for the GOP rollback effort. Now, earlier I mentioned the situation regarding Lisa Murkowski and Donald Trump. Donald Trump set to punish entire state of Alaska because its senators voted against his healthcare motion. This is from independent.co.uk, and they wrote, "Donald Trump's administration has reportedly threatened to isolate Alaska after a senator from the state voted against the president's healthcare motion. Senator Lisa Murkowski was one of 7 Republicans who rejected the measure to repeal parts of the Affordable Care Act, one of Mr. Trump's key policy pledges, during a vote on Tuesday. The president reacted angrily to the news, writing on Twitter, "Senator Lisa Murkowski of the great state of Alaska really let Republicans and our country down yesterday. Too bad." Our president, everyone, publicly shaming a state senator because she didn't vote the way that he wanted her to. Yay! Whee! I also see he's not passing some of that heat to Susan Collins or John McCain. Or maybe they're just next on his list? Later in the day, Ms. Murkowski and Dan Sullivan, the other Republican senator for Alaska, allegedly received calls from the Department of the Interior warning them that the state's future was now under consideration. The messages, which came directly from the Interior Secretary Ryan Zink, were troubling, Mr. Sullivan told Alaska Dispatch News. Not going into the details, but I fear that the strong economic growth, pro-energy, pro-mining, pro-jobs, and personnel from Alaska who are part of those policies are going to stop, he said. I tried to push back on behalf of all Alaskans. We're facing some difficult times, but the message was pretty clear. Alaskan regulatory issues which require support from the federal government, including permission to expand oil drilling in the National Petroleum Reserve, may now not be approved, it is feared. So, before I wrap up this video, I wanted to play a few clips of Bernie Sanders speaking about the state that America's healthcare is in. I think he makes a lot of great points about our healthcare system and what we honestly need to do about it.
Here's the chart. The United States now, we are spending $9,990 per person on health care. Almost $10,000 per person on health care. What do they spend in Germany? Well, they spend $5,300. Almost half of what we spend. What about Canada? I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. It's a really nice country. They spend $4,533. So how does it happen that we are spending more than double per person compared to the Canadians and almost double what the Germans do? French spend less than half of what we do. Australians spend less than half of what we do. Japanese spend less than half. In the UK, they spend about 40%. Don't you think, Mr. President, that the very first question that a member of the Senate might ask, why do we spend so much compared to other countries? And by the way, all of these other countries guarantee health care to all of their people, and in many instances, the health outcomes in those countries is better than our country. They live longer. The life expectancy is longer, their infant mortality rate is lower, and in some particular diseases, they do better in treating their people. And President Trump said that during that meeting, he said, Australia has, quote, better health care, end quote, better health care system than the United States. That's what Donald Trump said. So my Republican friends here who support President Trump, listen to what he said. Because on this one instance, he's not right very often, but I will confess that on this issue, he is right. In Australia, everyone is guaranteed health care as a right. Australia has a universal health care program called, ironically, Medicare, that provides all Australians with affordable, accessible, and high-quality health care. While the United States has the most expensive, bureaucratic, wasteful, and ineffective health care system in the world, Australia, turns out, has one of the most efficient. President Trump was right. In 2014, Australia's health care system ranked 6th out of 55 countries in efficiency. The United States ranked 44th. Not only does Australia guarantee universal health coverage, it spends less than half what we spend on health care per capita. In 2015, they spent $4,500, while we spend almost $10,000. While the Australian government spent 9% of its GDP on health care, the United States spent nearly double that, 17%. But this I will do. Whether in this debate, and I hope I have the opportunity, or in the very near future, I will offer a Medicare for all single-payer program, which finally has the United States doing what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child in a cost-effective way. And when we do that, and when we eliminate the need for families to spend $15,000 or $20,000 a year for health insurance, we will save the average middle-class family substantial sums of money. And with that, Madam President, I would yield the floor.
So I think with that, I'm going to end the video here, but what are your guys' thoughts on this? Feel free to comment below. I'd love to know your guys' opinion on this. Please do not hesitate to tell me what you think. I appreciate everyone for watching this video. Thank you very much, and as usual, I'll see all of you guys in my next video. Is what I would say if there wasn't a few things I needed to mention real fast that happened in the course of editing this video. So the GOP tried to go and push with a skinny repeal bill. Now the skinny repeal, as the name implies, is just a slimmed down short repeal bill. And it's pretty much the same as the previous bill that they were wanting to pass, but now it's called the Healthcare Freedom Act. And it's now 8 pages long instead of 146. And I'm not even kidding you, it's that short. Again, there is no replacement offered in the bill, and it's only to repeal. Either way, the skinny repeal bill tanked, and it was 49 to 51, and John McCain ended up voting no on it.
Ayes are 49, the nays are 51. The motion is not agreed to. The amendment is not agreed to.
He didn't go for it, of course, and Republican leader Mitch McConnell doesn't look too happy when McCain casts his vote. Mitch McConnell gave a pretty salty response to this, I would say.
What we tried to accomplish for the American people was the right thing for the country. And our only regret tonight, is that we didn't achieve what we had hoped to accomplish. I think the American people are going to regret that we couldn't find a better way forward. And as I said, we look forward to our colleagues on the other side suggesting what they have in mind.
Also, of course, our dear president showing his butthurt over Twitter, because of course he'd be bitching about this on Twitter. An article on BusinessInsider.com had a quote from John McCain going more into his decision not to vote on the skinny repeal, and he stated, "From the beginning, I have believed that Obamacare should be repealed and replaced with a solution that increases competition, lowers costs, and improves care for the American people. The so-called skinny repeal amendment the Senate voted on today would not accomplish those goals. While the amendment would have repealed some of Obamacare's most burdensome regulations, it offered no replacement to actually reform our healthcare system and deliver affordable, quality healthcare to our citizens." The speaker's statement that the House would be willing to go to conference does not ease my concern that this shell of a bill could be taken up and passed at any time. I've stated time and time again that one of the major failures of Obamacare was that it was rammed through Congress by Democrats on a strict party line basis without a single Republican vote. We should not make the mistakes of the past that has led to Obamacare's collapse, including in my home of Arizona where premiums are skyrocketing and healthcare providers are fleeing the marketplace. We must now return to the correct way of legislating and send the bill back to committee, hold hearings, receive inputs from both sides of the aisle, heed the recommendations of nations' governors, and produce a bill that finally delivers affordable healthcare for the American people. We must do the hard work our citizens expect of us and deserve. So that's just what I wanted to cover and go through. I apologize if I may have missed any information on this, but this was a clusterfuck. I know this video kind of went all over the place, but to be fair, the subject matter at hand kind of went all over the place, so... But anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching, and blah, 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 blah. I'm cutting to black now.